I want to put it up to you, Minister, and to the entire government, that the problems we've seen over the last few days in Roscrea and beyond are not the fault of asylum seekers, they're your fault. And I'm pointing the fingers at you because I really mean this. I am so angry, as is everybody, about the scenes of women and their children being frightened and bullied and harangued and harassed, and the scenes of violence that ensued from that, and them having to witness it. And why is it happening? It is not because they're a problem, it's because your government is a problem and previous governments are a problem. Precisely because your housing policy, your lack of delivery on public services has led the anger of ordinary people, whipped up by the lies and viciousness of the far right, the Nazi supporters who want to blame refugees and people of colour. They have directed that against asylum seekers instead of directing it against you and your policies. And the reason I'm doing this in such a vociferous way is because we have echoes of those Nazi supporters' lies in this chamber, and those echoes which come from rural independents and others across this House, which blame refugees for the problems that we have, actually do make a difference to how people think. Sure. And when people find that that is going on and is echoed by ministers and by deputies and others in this House, and now councillors, from Mayo right down to Kerry now, they're talking about, we're not dealing with you, we're not going to talk to you about refugees. And they're in your parties. Rein them in. Do not allow this happen. Rein in your councillors and do not allow them to pass motions that refuse to deal with the department on the question of refugees. But the sooner the better you get out of government, because until you do and unless you do, we're going to have the complication of people blaming refugees instead of blaming you. But I do want to put it up to other deputies, like Michael Lowry, and I'm going to say it to him, who boasts regularly about what he's achieved for North Tipperary. Why do you continually vote confidence in the government, vote against a ban on evictions? By doing that, you're supporting them who are implementing the policies where migrants and asylum seekers are being scapegoated. And I just want to say this, that it might sound like a bit of a leap, but every time you refuse to deal with the housing crisis, with the lack of public services, you add fuel to the fire. And I don't care how many nice liberal Fine Gaelers get on the Tonight Show and sound tough and hard on it. The reality is, it is your policies that are implementing the scapegoating of migrants. And instead of deputies talking about we're suffering from an invasion, the invasion we're suffering from is when Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael opened up this country to vulture funds, to real estate investment funds who are buying up housing estates, still 85% of them, and depriving ordinary teachers, nurses, doctors, people who provide services of the ability to set up roots in this country. All of that feeds into this migrant crisis, and until we get rid of those policies, i.e. you, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, and your mudguards in the Greens, we're not going to make the difference.
Deputy, just before we proceed, Deputy, can I say I'm all in favour of very robust debate here, but it is not fair by any stretch of the imagination to equate any member of this House in any way with Nazism. Not in any way, not by any stretch of the imagination. And you diminish the appalling nature of what Nazism is to do so.
I'll have that debate with you again, Ceann Comhairle, but I stand over my right to say that they echo the sympathies of Nazis.
You can say what you like.
Yeah, I can.
I'm simply pointing out the facts. Minister,
they're not the facts.
Thank you, Deputy. I think you're going down a dangerous road, but what I can say to you is, though, that the rise of the far right ideology and anti-immigration sentiment in Ireland is worrying, and it's something that we have seen in other countries for many years, but it hasn't been an issue here. But that has unfortunately changed. But when you look ahead to 2024, the world is becoming a very scary place. And you look at what's going on in Gaza, you look at Putin's war in Ukraine, and you're going to have an election in America, which looks like it's going to be divisive in itself. Fanning the flames on all of this propaganda misinformation and outright lies being spread on social media. And as a government, I accept that we do need to communicate better. I do accept that, but Deputy, you know as well as I do that cutting through the lies on social media is not easy. But there's an onus on every single one of us in this House to show leadership. And can I just say that there's a lot of misinformation out there about immigration, and as a government, as I said earlier, we do need to communicate better, but it's incumbent on each and every one of us to do that as well. Migration has been good for Ireland, and I'm just going to give some information here. The social insurance contributions from foreign nationals, so that is the PRSI contributions, is $3 billion per annum. And over the past 10 years, it has amounted to 17 billion. And that's coming from the workers in our health service and the workers in our hospitality sector, the workers in our food processing plants and other key sectors. And that's helping us to pay for the pensioners in this country. It's helping us to pay for unemployment benefits. And you'd wonder how some people can be at protests in the middle of the day when everyone else is working. So we have had to announce more work permits recently because we can't get the staff in certain sectors. Can I just say that what we're dealing with here as a government is an emergency situation. Over 107,000 Ukrainians have come here, and there is a growth in the number of people applying for international protection. The Ukrainian war is going on much longer than anticipated, unfortunately, and people are staying longer. We're transferring from an emergency situation to a plan that allows us to accommodate the people coming here and comply with our international obligations. We have a rules-based system. 800 people were deported last year. We have doubled the staff in the Department of Justice so we can get decisions faster on international protection applications. So the challenges we are responding to is happening right across Europe, and it's something that as a government we are committed to dealing with. We have dealt with other challenges, and indeed people on the opposition benches said we were doing the wrong thing at the time, and it turned out we were doing the right thing. So what I'm saying is there are challenges, we are dealing with them, and I know Minister O'Gorman is working extremely hard in his department.
Deputy Smith.
Just to repeat, I'm actually standing here to say that the far right are liars, that they're Nazi sympathisers, that they spread bile and lies about, first of all, single men, and then it extends to all refugees, the women and children who were terrified on those videos we saw the other day. So it's the far right that are spreading their lies, but they are Nazi sympathisers, and they do see racism as a tool to deflect against what's going on in society. But unfortunately, it's deflecting against your government and the problems that you have created. They say Ireland is full. Well, I tell you what Ireland is full of. Empty homes, 165,000 of them, and you've never dealt with that. And those empty homes are lying empty for a long, long time under successive governments of Fianna Fáil, backed up, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, sometimes backed up by other parties that go into coalition with them. It is your policies that are creating the problem. If it's not, then what you're saying to me is that ordinary people up and down this country who get sucked into that stuff are all baddies. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they're getting sucked in instead of deflecting it onto you. The likes of Michael Larry and Mattie McGrath, they really cared about the people in North Tipperary, would be organising protests against the policies of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. They would not be voting against motions of no confidence. They would be voting to keep the eviction ban up, and they would be therefore providing services that would keep our nurses, doctors, vets, dentists, all of these young people we educate in the country, and deal with the lack of services in Roscrea and elsewhere.
Minister.
Deputy, you cannot blame the government for people carrying out violent actions. You can't do that. And can I just say, you should not conflate the two issues of housing and immigration. Ukrainians and international protection applicants are mainly being moved into hotels and large-scale type accommodation. They're not taking homes from Irish people. And you know, if that's the line you're trying to peddle, I have to say you're going down a very dangerous road. As I said, we have taken a number of actions and we'll continue to work with communities. We'll continue to improve our communications, and Minister O'Gorman is coming forward with a plan in terms of providing more state accommodation for people who are coming into this country, and that should be with us in the next number of weeks. So there's a lot of things happening there, and we will continue to work on it. It is challenging. It's happening right across Europe. We're not on our own here, but we want to deal with it in a way that's rules-based and that we show respect and meet our international obligations for the people that come to our shores, many of whom come from very, very difficult circumstances.
Thank you, Minister.